Okay, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants, let us now proceed into the last plenary session. In this quantum computing technology session, we tried to answer how quantum computing is relevant to promoting healthy lives and well-being of all individuals. Please join me in welcoming our session moderator, Yonsei Quantum Initiative Director Jae-ho Jung and Director Han Baek to the stage.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the kind word of introduction. And I welcome all of you to the plenary session 5, Quantum Computing Technology and Vision for the Future. So some of you might be aware of the quantum technology and quantum computing, or some of you might be learned about the quantum mechanics in your physics study. Over the past centuries, our understanding of the quantum world has steadily evolved, and consequently, human race has built the brand new paradigm computing based on the fundamental principles of quantum physics. So to open up this session and expedite and prime the discussion, panel discussion, I would like to give you a couple of slides to give you an idea of what quantum computing is and how they can transform the current healthcare and drug discovery industry and what's the implication for the future. So I would like to start off with a couple of numbers here. So you can read this, and can you imagine what does these numbers have to do with? So these numbers are related to the current status of drug discovery and development industry. So although the name implies very royal, so this is a hemophilia, kind of blood clotting disorder, and actually it runs in the family like a royal family because of the inbreed, so-called royal malady. But unlike its name implies, it's kind of quite devastating disorders. So if you can see here very cute, lovely child there, but if they are affected with this disorder, they have to go to the hospital and they should get a shot every other day for their entire life. So this is a kind of life-threatening disorders. At the same time, it is quite ruin their life quality. I always emphasize that science is a hope for humanity. So breakthrough research actually results in the bringing up of the so-called one-shot therapy. So imagine, so every other day shot versus one-shot therapy for their life. It's amazing, isn't it? But the problem is the price. Can you accept this cost as an innovation value? $3.5 million US dollars. Exactly this one vial of shot injection costs you $3.5 million US dollars. Even though science brings the hope to the humanity, still we are struggling with how to accommodate this price to save our lives. So this is the so-called R&D paradox in drug discovery and development industry. I don't think anyone over here, including me, not fooled over with this. And more generally and importantly, human race not ready to afford with this kind of innovation. And the key question is the current healthcare is not sustainable at all. So because of this kind of formidable task, it is sometimes coined as a Herculean task. The root problem actually, is a difficulty of new drug development is just like, probing the 10 to the 60th chemical space such astronomical complexity hinders us from going further. So because of this kind of root problems, drug discovery industry is struggling with how to make a breakthrough, even this kind of numbers. But if we think of this Herculean task, actually the root problem actually lies in the computational problems. So this slide just gives you an idea of how immensely computational cost actually embedded in the drug discovery industry and industry. So drug discovery usually starts with identification of a target. So you may are well aware of the last year's Nobel laureates in chemistry, the David Baker and the very famous Demis Hassabis, who actually 10 years back, he defeated Isedo in Go play, right? And he then developed AlphaGo, and then AlphaFold, actually, that solved the problem of native state of proteins. But if you look at this slide, the AlphaFold is not just a toy. Even though we are utilizing the world's fastest supercomputer, like a Frontier or El Capitan, it still requires several months at least on computer or QPU just to simulate 1 microsecond. But in reality, if you have a legitimate target, you have to simulate 1 millisecond. The order difference is huge, 1,000 times. Simply 0.001 second simulation requires 1,000 months on supercomputer. That is why the United States NIH support drug discovery industry by allowing them to access the supercomputers. Even they developed large-scale parallel supercomputers specialized in the biomolecular molecular dynamics simulations, so-called Anton chip. So it is obvious that we need a new paradigm of computation in order to make a breakthrough in the sustainable healthcare and affordable drug development and discovery. So that is why here in that the target and drug substance interaction is quantum mechanical in nature. That is why one of the most famous physicists in our time, Richard Feynman, once said that nature isn't classical. We need a quantum mechanical computer if you want to make a simulation of nature. Then nature is a protein and a drug substance interaction. So Yonsei University, actually, we are the first university in Korea, as well as the second in the world to accommodate this emerging technology to solve the problems we human race faces today. So Yonsei Quantum Initiative, so-called LOVE, is a literacy, outreach, versatility, and engagement. So I would like to give you a short video clip where the video explicitly represents why Yonsei pursue this emerging technology and what we are going to do with this.
실제 상용화된 세계 최고 성능의 양자 컴퓨터가 국내에 도입됐습니다.
슈퍼컴퓨터는 현존하는 컴퓨터 중 가장 빠른 계산 성능을 갖고 있는데요. 그보다 더 빠른 양자 컴퓨터가 국내 대학에 처음으로 들어왔습니다.
양자 컴퓨터 가지고 무엇을 할 것인가? 인류는 계속해서 어떤 문제를 해결하기 위해서 도구를 개발해 왔잖아요. 저희는 양자 컴퓨팅의 압도적인 계산력을 질병 해결을 위한 신약 개발이나 이런 측면에서도 도구로서 활용하고자 하는 거예요.
지금은 컴퓨팅 타임을 자체적으로 운영을 할 수 있는 상황이 되었잖아요. 근데 확실한 것은 연세대에서 양자 컴퓨터를 도입해 옴에 따라서 다른 대학에서는 주어지지 않는 아주 특별한 기회가 주어진 거는 확실하다고 봅니다.
연세 사이언스 파크 조성 사업의 이제 핵심 주제가 바이오를 중심으로 한 다학제 학문의 융합을 통해서 그 융합 과학의 교육 연구를 통한 이 산업화까지의 어떤 생태계를 만드는 거였고,
저희가 바라는 것은 이런 양자 역학적인 어떤 기반 이론이 인공지능의 기본 원리조차 확장할 수 있을 거다라는 어떤 그런 비전을 제시하려고 하고 있는 것이고,
각자의 전공이나 이런 것들 안에서도 충분히 양자 컴퓨터 혹은 양자 기술들을 잘 접목시킬 수 있겠구나라는 이제 생각을 갖게 되었습니다.
바이오 신약 개발은 소재나 화학 이쪽하고 다 연계가 돼 있거든요. 그렇기 때문에 그런 주변 학문들이나 주변 산업도 동반돼서 양자 첨단 바이오 이제 메디칼 클러스터를 구축을 하고자 하는 게 여기에 이제 비전이고,
기존에 있는 어떤 계산 파워 내지는 기존에 있었던 원리 확장보다는 새로운 양자 원리에 기반한 형태의 지능에 대한 어떤 기술 방식, 또 운영 방식 이런 것들을 탐구하는 것이
어떤 상상을 하게 되고 또 인류가 지금 현재 갖고 있는 기술의 그 최전선에 있는 것이 바로 양자 기술이기 때문에 그것에 대해서 서사적으로도 흥미롭고 또 기술적으로도 흥미롭고.
이번 연세대학교 국제 캠퍼스에 설치되는 양자 컴퓨터 이글은 본격적인 양자 컴퓨팅 알고리즘 연구가 가능한 127큐빗 사양이고요. 한국에서는 물론 전 세계적으로도 미국을 제외한 국가에 설치된 IBM 양자 컴퓨터 중 최고 사양입니다.
제가 생각할 때 양자 컴퓨팅은 인간 지성의 첨탑이라고 생각합니다. 공상과학 같은 얘기지만 언제나 인류는 이런 식으로 상상을 통해서 몇 년 후에, 수십 년 후에는 상상했던 것을 이뤄냈기 때문에
저는 2030년 정도면은 전 세계적으로 사람들이 양자 컴퓨팅을 생각을 했을 때 연세대가 그래도 그 떠오르는 기관들,
네.
대학들 중에 하나였으면 좋겠다라는 생각을 하고 충분히 그렇게 할 수 있지 않을까라고
네.
생각을 해봅니다.
This is only Korean for this session. So, in line with that, Yonsei University is strategically partnership with IBM in a specific area of biotechnology, drug discovery, and human healthcare. How sustainable and how affordable is the only concerns we have. So this is the last slide. As I said, I just primed this session. And quantum computing is actually embodiment of the human intelligence. And it is going to unleash the power of quantum mechanics. And this is a true enabling technology. And I hope this would solve the problem of R&D paradox in new drug discovery and development. And thereby, we live in the future where the sustainable healthcare for all. So with that, I would like to invite Dr. Hani back to the podium, and she will share some of her insight regarding this topic. I'm proud to introduce Hani Pak because she is a Yonsei alumni. She graduated from Yonsei University Department of Physics, and then went to the United States and finished her study in quantum physics. And obviously, she is the first generation PhD in quantum computing. And she did her postdoctoral fellowship at Yale University, one of the renowned university, particularly in quantum superconducting quantum computer. And she moved to industry sector, IBM. And I really think high of that decision because academia should partnership with industry to make something happen. We actually, academia, we discovered something new, and that discovery should be translating to the industry to make a benefit to the society. So at IBM, first, she engaged in the building QPU, quantum process unit, using the superconducting materials. And now she moved to the very highly promoted position, and she is now working on the development of quantum algorithm and the academic collaboration department. So please give her a big hands to as I invite her to this podium.
Thank you for a really warm introduction, and thank you for inviting me to also this really nice, great conferences that also I'm learning a lot. So, yeah, so I just also wanted to introduce the IBM. We are the industry, but IBM also has a research lab, IBM Research. And IBM Research is one of the oldest industry labs that we've been also working on the fundamentals of the computation or computing science. And there are so many innovations came from IBM. I mean, Fortran, like computation languages, and a lot of the computing peripherals, like a barcode is one of them. And then we made a lot of the innovation in the hard drive, that anything that you're using. IBM also used to make the HPCs. Now we are moving on to more like a specialized GPU, the computers. And a lot of global banks and I guess the financial institutions, they are using IBM Z systems. Is one of the fundamentally secure computing systems that very, very small fraction of the rate of the failure, so that the transactions can actually kind of sustain. But Professor Chung gave a talk on the current status of the quantum computing, and then I'm really proud of this partnership between Yonsei University and then IBM. And the system that we have deployed at Yonsei University is right now actually running almost 100% of the utilization, which is a big surprise from IBM leadership, to be honest, because we knew that the Yonsei University's traditional strength was not in quantum computing, but we have Yonsei University has a lot of the very smart and intelligent students and professors and researchers, and they were able to really quickly adopt the quantum computing. And then what I was going to say today is actually a little bit of the future forward, but the future just started a couple years ago or today. And some of the future we are actually doing together with Yonsei, which is, so let me just skip through here. I just want to start from here. This is actually the vision of the future of computing that IBM Research is envisioning at this point. Quantum-centric supercomputing. So it is not just a quantum computing, it is not just a supercomputing, it's not just a GPU. The future, the integrated computing platforms that all the data and the workflow are integrated such that users can use this computing platform to solve any problems. That's actually the goal that we are pursuing at this point. And this is actually happening right now. The quantum-centric supercomputing systems, so HPC that is integrated with a more than 100 qubit quantum computing system there are 3 systems are existing in the world. So one we built at RPI in 2024, and there are 2 in Japan at RIKEN, which is one of the best national labs in Japan. Another is at the University of Tokyo, which we built in 2025. And I also heard the next system actually will be at Yonsei University. So Yonsei University and RIKEN, the Japan's national lab, they signed an MOU last year to collaborate. RIKEN has one of the best HPC system in the world, Fugaku. Used to be the top first, and then right now still is one of the best systems, best HPCs. We would like to use that Fugaku HPC at RIKEN in Japan, and the quantum computing system at Yonsei University. We'd like to use both systems to challenge the most the difficult computing problems, especially related to the medical research. I don't think that I can say anything that we are doing right now. However, you'll be probably hear really soon the exciting research outcomes that we are doing. Because we just heard that we were able to run computing jobs that we connected through RIKEN's Fugaku from Japan, and then was able to call and then send the data to Yonsei's the quantum computer, so which is really exciting. So with this vision, I guess I need to just gonna go backward, right? Like for people who haven't really heard quantum computing, these are the industry areas that we think can benefit from the quantum computing or quantum-centric supercomputing, like using the computing systems that can be can use both the quantum and then the traditional computing. So finance is one area. The energy, like energy grid optimizations or find the batteries that can run efficiently. That's another area here. And materials is traditionally trying to understand the energies, find the new molecules in chemistries. This is another industry areas that can benefit from the quantum computing. And of course, the last thing is the health, especially in the biochemistry and then in the medical research. We have to understand more like microscopically what's happening in the molecular level to understand the impact of the drugs or mechanisms that are happening within the human body. And quantum computer, one of the best problem, the mathematical problem that quantum computer can do is solving the linear algebra system and the eigenvalue problem, which is basically same as the computing the ground state energy of the molecules, which basically kind of is a starting point of everything. And therefore, the reason that also like Yonsei is trying to build or quantum computer is a part of the Yonsei's big medical complex is the quantum computer is also really promising tool, potentially together with the GPUs and also the HPCs or any like a traditional computing, to solve one of the most challenging problems in the medicine. So I think I'm going to, I guess these are basically the summary of the computing problems that quantum computer can really help. The Hamiltonian simulation is basically this eigenvalue problems that traditionally the computing researches just goes exponential as the problem size grows. Quantum machine learning is a new area because of quantum computing, they encode informations in a very complex the data space. And if certain data has some special relations between, among each other, the data sets, then they may be able to, or we may be able to use a quantum computer to, categorize those data sets that has a complex the relationship. And optimization is one of the area, the Grover's algorithms or phase estimation is one of those algorithms that we may be able to use it for optimization. This is a proven analytically that can have a speed up, computational speed up. Differential equations is another area that we are also looking into whether we can solve that problem. And I'm actually going, somehow I prepare my slides a little bit more deeper technical. But I mentioned that quantum-centric supercomputing is one of our directions for the future. And how we do the computation is basically putting the data into a quantum computing system, and then each steps of the processing units, the data will be handled, right? Like information will be processed, and then there will be output. So in the computing systems where quantum computer and like GPUs or CPUs are all integrated, this is actually a very generalized view of how the data can flow. And of course, our input data and how those input data can be prepared such that it can run in the QPU, the quantum processing unit, has to start from the top, like the regular GPUs or CPUs or classical computer. And the quantum information or quantum computation has to be done in the QPUs. And all this, the workflow of the data and then how the data can be processed can be also orchestrated using the classical computing. And then we have error corrections and error mitigations. The quantum computer, one of the disadvantages or challenges of the quantum computer is the errors, because the quantum states that where we're encoding the quantum information is very prone to any kind of the disruptions from the outside. So error correction and error mitigations are very important. And those error corrections and error mitigations also use the classical computer. So classical computing can help improving the accuracies and the speed and operations of the quantum computing. So this sort of I guess a little bit of the simplified view of how we are building how the quantum and the classical computing or quantum-centric supercomputing workflow. I have only 2 slides that kind of show examples. Like this is like an ongoing or the the research outcome that just came out. So in the past year and a half, actually, I took the assignment from the U.S. to Japan. So one of the work that I did together with our Japan team and then our RIKEN partner was to use the quantum computer existing in Japan, which is integrated with RIKEN's supercomputer Fugaku, to solve one of the challenging molecules, ground state energy. We chose Fe4S4, which is ironically, actually I'm a physics major, and then I really didn't understand the meaning of the Fe4S4, but I don't think that you're going to explain, but the Fe4S4 is actually the key molecules that produce the energy within the mitochondria in your cell. This is one of the baseline molecules that's involved to produce the energy within the human body. And that's why we are calling this molecule sometimes as a cradle of life. But this is a very complicated molecule. There are strong entanglements and the number of electrons are large. So typically, brute force computation using high HPC is impossible. And there are few approximation methods that you can use with HPC. And the challenges that IBM has been doing with RIKEN in the past 2 years was let's use quantum-centric supercomputing to solve this, the molecular energy. And the graph on the right side is showing that this is the latest. We were able to beat the two most advanced computational methods using HPCs, using quantum and HPC like a workflow. That was one of the results that we are showing, which actually kind of shows that quantum computer is a very competitive tool now, the computational tool, and no longer a sci-fi or something that maybe you can use as a toy. It is not. You can actually use quantum computer to solve some meaningful scientific research. And RIKEN and IBM are showing this. We are soon going to show outcomes from Yonsei and RIKEN and then IBM collaboration as well. So this was quite of the big the outcome that we were able to produce last year. And then also IBM collaborated with the Cleveland Clinic. They were, of course, we were all interacting each other. And then this is a quantum-centered supercomputing. Cleveland Clinic also has a quantum computer within their campus. And they were also able to solve the energies of the different molecular configurations, which is also very challenging just to use the GPU or CPU itself. So with that examples, just to show that right now we are at the stage where quantum computer can be a great tool for academic research and scientific discovery, that we are now computing complicated molecular structures that could impact the medical research or biochemistry using quantum computer together with HPC. And right now, IBM is working with the Yonsei University to even advance the frontier of the academic research or scientific research using a quantum computer. So for that, I guess I'll go back to my seat after this. Oh, thank you. Yeah. Sorry? Oh, thank you so much for listening.
Okay, so thank you, Hani, for sharing some technical issues. And I think it's a kind of mini lecture on the quantum computing algorithm. It sounds like you just go back to your school days in physics department.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I guess so.
But it is kind of refreshing to some of the audiences, but some are not quite familiar with the quantum computing and quantum algorithm. Might be just the kind of eye-opening to this relatively new scientific field. But anyhow, so I think you just mentioned about how emerging technology like quantum mechanic-based computation paradigm and how it would be instrumental in terms of broadening and expanding the frontier of human intelligence by expedite the scientific discovery. And I really like the idea of how computation, like calculation, is a bona fide methodology to expand our human intelligence frontier. So before we begin the discussion, so I would like to give you some of the facts and what's going on in this field. So obviously, we are living in the era of AI, but the quantum is so hot and trendy word these days as well. So quantum science is actually entering the new era, and what was once considered a purely theoretical field is now becoming a foundation for transformative technologies that may redefining what computation is, material science, chemistry, and even in healthcare science. And recognizing the growing importance of this field, the quantum science and information technology, the United Nations and UNESCO actually has designated the last year, the year 2025, as the International Year of Quantum Science Technology to raise global awareness of quantum science and its impact on human society. Personally, I was there. Korea, we have a small, commemorative gathering in the Gangnam area, and many stakeholders there, and they have one voice that quantum science will shape the future, and but the problem is what kind of future it would be. That's the question we still have and we should deal with. With that, for today's session, we will explore how quantum computing could influence industry research and development, and scientific discovery as well, and particularly some of the flavors with healthcare science, and how these developments may contribute to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 3, SDG 3. Actually, this is the core of today's gathering here. You know what SDG 3 is?
I learned today, actually.
Really?
I'm so sorry that
Great.
I should have known. But sustainability, governance, and what was that?
Development.
Development.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And actually, out of 17, the number 3 is just specifically mentioning about how to ensure healthy lives and promoting well-being for all at all ages. So it's quite, very big and huge words, but we should tackle this with our emerging technologies. So in order to navigate these important topics here, and I'm going to ask a couple of questions to Hani, and then with this kind of the question and answers, if possible, I going to entertain a couple of questions from the floor, if possible. So first question, it is the certainly the role of quantum computing in the age of artificial intelligence. So as you already presented in your presentation, so kind of a hybrid computing is essential in terms of accelerate AI. So in this context, how do you see the role of quantum computing in the age of AI? And are these two technologies, like quantum and AI, are they competing each other or are they complementary?
Yeah, so since I've been working in IBM research for a long time, and this concept of the quantum-centric supercomputing or the integration of a QPU, GPU, CPU really started out many years ago from our former director of Dario Gil, who's right now the undersecretary of the DOE. So it was quite natural for me that at some point we have to think about algorithms that can use both the quantum computing, the QPU part, and the GPU, which is mostly like AI algorithms, right? So this, right now, maybe those two I don't really distinguish as even like competing or integrating. I mean, what we need to do next is what kind of algorithms can benefit or can use both QPU and CPU or GPU to advance the knowledge of a human being or current level, like a state of art of the algorithms. I think that is actually the problem or a question that everyone has to think about. Everyone who's interested in computing or computing science, computational science, or physics or any like natural sciences, the topics that we kind of have to think about how we can use both of them to advance. I think AI is fundamentally traditionally, right? They use a classical computer, therefore the algorithms are all using the classical methods of the algorithm or computation methods, right? Quantum computer, I'm not trying to explain how quantum computer works. However, it encodes the information in quantum state, which many of people don't even understand what the quantum state is because you don't really see it in the everyday life. And it uses a particular methods like entanglements or superposition or what's the words? Interference, right? Sorry, thank you. Yeah, it uses interference to also get the outcome of the computation, right? So which is just fundamentally different than the classical computation. So how we can use both of them and then build the algorithms is a really interesting problem. I mean, personally, I'm working on that too. And I'm hoping that everyone can also think about that problem.
So it's like the classical physics, like Newtonian dynamics, as well as the quantum mechanics. So I think the AI is obviously, operated on the CMOS, like a silicon-based. That means it operates on the, Newtonian mechanics.
Zeros and ones, right?
Zero, zero, one. And the quantum computer is, definitely different from the classical computers because it is kind of quantum mechanical in nature. So every time I was invited to deliver a couple of talks, and they said that is quantum computing replacing the classical computer and the AI is going to be obsolete? But my answer, I think I am legitimate to say this because I'm not the developer of quantum computer. I'm an end user. I'm utilizing quantum computer because I have a goal. I have a problem to solve. So in that regard, I think the quantum computing or quantum computer is a kind of very a vital toolkit to accelerate AI, like a complementary because so AI has a kind of very good performance area, high speed and the search area depth is quite, humongous. But the thing is AI actually randomly do that. But if we apply the quantum mechanics like Born rules, and the probability becomes like more natural and accurate in terms of searching the kind of search spaces. That is my understanding actually. So obviously it's the role of quantum computing in the age of AI. It's not likely to competing, but by harnessing the power of quantum computing, we can actually build a better and more highly performance hybrid quantum computing system, right?
If I add, since the quantum and AI algorithms are really hard to discover in a study, right now a lot of people are actually starting with how AI can help quantum computation. Right. This is actually it's not the easiest thing to do, but there are a lot of areas that we can do. For example, quantum programs, like there are particular quantum programs that promises the computational speed up. People use a generative model to find that what is the problem set or what is the quantum programs that can give you the speed up. Right. Yeah, so there's a generative, I can solve problems also.
Right.
And optimizing the quantum programs, because right now our quantum computing systems has errors. So the length of the quantum program is limited. So how to optimize the length of the quantum problem? You can also use AI to optimize it so that we can actually solve the problems with the quantum computer and things like that. Yeah.
Right. So actually at Yonsei, the new Department of Quantum Information Science, a couple of professors' expert area is quantum algorithm and information science, and they say that AI is particularly good at detecting patterns, right? AI and pattern, they detect pattern from the big data. So likewise, actually, current status of quantum computing is, unfortunately error-prone in some calculations. But using AI, we can detect the pattern of errors occurring in quantum computer, so that they can, preemptively or post-processing stage, actually they can fix the errors occurred during the quantum computation. So I think this is kind of quite vice versa beneficiary to quantum and AI in terms of hybrid computing.
Absolutely. I mean, you use it wherever you can use it, right? Yeah.
So moving to the second question, it's a kind of quantum application and the future opportunities. Quantum computing is often described as one of the most transformative technology currently, and obviously it is going to reshape the coming decades. Could you briefly explain how quantum computers differ from classical ones, and why they become important for kind of pharmaceutical research and some of the scientific discovery?
So this is actually a question I never, okay, I'm a physics major, so I learned quantum mechanics as a base, the basic topic that I have to learn, and but this quantum mechanics part is actually the hardest part, and that's the basics of also how the quantum computer works that no one really get over to explain. I guess people usually say, oh, classical computer encodes information from 0 to 1. I mean, encoding information, already that word is hard to understand because many people don't think about the computer science languages. And quantum computer just encodes the information in a quantum state, which consists of the amplitude and phase, or it is a two-dimensional parameter in some level. And two-dimensional parameter, you can actually think about wave, but I don't know, it's gonna make you even more confusing. But since the information is already naturally quantum mechanical, and of course we use the quantum gates that, to process the information there, that's why the Feynman was saying that, hey, maybe quantum computer will be really good in computing problems that are also quantum mechanical, which is the molecules, the atoms, and then proteins and things like that, and which are basically like a lot of the baseline of the materials, drug discoveries, and things that are very important for our daily life. And then I think drug discovery nowadays, to be honest, they don't really brute forcefully solve the molecules because there are too many parameters, and they use AI methods it's kind of different there. But this solving the molecular quantum states, which is very important to understand the property of the molecules and therefore the property of the drug, is where the quantum computer has a strength in it. And that's probably one of the promising areas that a lot of people are working on. I mean, that's why Yonsei is working on it. Cleveland Clinic is working on it. And with the RECAN, we started with a Fe4S4, which is also one of those biomolecule that are very important in the medicine.
Okay, so I think we went unduly deep dive into the technology, sorry for that. But I think taking the fundamentally different philosophy of computation, the quantum computing is not just an extension of classical computing, right? It's not just the fastest one, but as you mentioned, the kind of data dimensionality and the way the quantum computing operates is fundamentally different, and it's more natural, right? So I love the term natural.
That's
it
right.
can naturally compute the molecular complexity and the molecular systems energy that is quite naturally processed the information. So it's like so this analogy quite weird, but I think I'm Korean, right? My mother tongue is Korean, so it's quite natural to process the information and express the information. But if I use English like this, and then it's not natural, right? But think of the how nature uses, if they have their own language, if the nature has their own language, I believe they should be quantum mechanical. Okay, so
Actually, that's actually great analogy. It is a more natural information processing techniques or methods that nature is a given to us that we haven't really discovered because it only happens in a very particular special state, right? We have to isolate all the energy, the environmental impact has to be cold, or it has to happen in a molecular level or at atomic level that creates like a vacuum and then creates a special state. So that's why human being never discovered this until 90s, I believe, because that's when we first demonstrated a qubit. But it's also first time that computing field is branched out. You're correct that it's a fundamentally different computing method. Yeah.
okay, so today's goal is obviously the solidarity and how to share the responsibility by each sector, like industry, academia, research institutes, or society. So I think industry, likewise, like a little bit different from the context of the academia, because it's a fiercely competitive landscape of the industry, the nature. So, but still, we have to collaborate, right? So from an industry perspective, I think quantum computing, because it is still in developing phase, you need to put a lot of resources to develop quantum technology, right? Financially, or the any assets you should put into the great deal of those into the development of technology. So to me, the collaboration between companies is very hard. So what do you think? And do you think the collaboration between companies is important? And also to extend the collaboration from company to the other sectors, like industry, university collaboration, and the research institutions and the government relations. So what do you think of this?
So right now, actually, it's called as a pre-competitive era. I heard this term also when I moved to Illinois, like in Chicago, where since quantum computing technology is being developed, and we are also trying to increase the value of quantum computing, but we are not there yet. Like we are still, quantum computing is still like advancing, right? And there are still a lot of the scientific questions that we still have to answer to really move forward. So yes, collaboration is essential, and certainly as an industry, it's not the easiest things. But I mean, it can be easy or it can be simple. Means if the two companies meet the business needs, then that's when we collaborate. IBM has a collaboration with AMD, as AMD makes the GPUs and the HPCs, and IBM is obviously like one of the best quantum computing companies. And then we're going to work together to really push forward this quantum-centric supercomputing technology. And IBM also announced the collaboration with Cisco. Cisco is a communication company, and the quantum communication or quantum communication technology is really important for scaling our future of quantum computing systems. So we are going to work on developing that quantum communications links and then the scaling technology together. But of course, a lot of our collaboration from IBM is with national labs and academia, where we are also trying to develop the algorithms and applications and software, which is also very important to advance.
Yeah, I know a little bit of IBM, and because my research turned out to be the IBM actually, you guys remember in one of my slides that Richard Feynman said nature is not classical, blah, blah, and do you remember the year when the Feynman mentioned about that?
1987.
1980s, right? And the IBM is as I know, so as far as I know, the first company deep dive into the developing the quantum computer during that time. And the many IBM fellows, they have a pronounced achievement in human intelligence, like for example, the Claude Shannon or who is your
Charlie
IBM
Bennett
fellow?
and
Charles
Rolf
Bennett,
Landauer. So there are a lot of the computational scientists who work on that.
So in that sense, your culture is actually, quite natural in terms of collaborating with academia in discovery science.
Absolutely,
right?
yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. We have a lot of collaboration. I mean, Yonsei University, and there's so many.
So it's a little bit hard to answer question, but what do you think of Google? Because
I don't know. We have a lot of IBMers here that. Oh, so say it again.
actually Google is, I think the platform is quite similar. Actually, the same platform, quantum platform, like a superconducting-based qubits, and they also publish a lot of good papers these days, as IBM do. So what do you think of?
I mean, high level, I think we really need to work as a community to everyone pushes the technology of quantum computing. And in that sense, if any companies contribute to advancing the quantum computing technologies and science, I think that's a really important thing. And then that's a great thing, right? But I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, whether Google is doing that or not is the question usually. But I also personally know a lot of my friends in the Google, because the quantum computing community started really small. We used to hang out, still having beer and things like that whenever we go to a conference, right? So the important thing is the quantum computing science and technology still needs to advance. And as a person who started quantum computing 25 years ago, where I couldn't even get a job after PhD in quantum computing, let's contribute to advance the quantum computing science and technology together. I think that's something that I just like to encourage everyone.
Okay. So do you have any quick suggestions or recommendations for the countries like Korea? Because many countries are actually relatively new to this field. And what kind of strategies would you recommend to build a strong quantum ecosystem in Korea?
So these software, quantum algorithms, and quantum applications, right, use cases, are relatively newer field. And then I understand, like the United States started quantum computing research like 80s, I guess. Even this Feynman, the quote, came from the conference that IBM organized in 1980s at MIT. So, and then they're obviously funded by the US government, right? I mean, IBM used to get funded by US government for a long time. And I believe the Korea's quantum computing program was relatively newer. I mean, compared to like other countries, right, in Europe or in Japan. So in that sense, for Korea to contribute to advance the quantum computing, frontiers of quantum computing, the software algorithms and applications are the areas that, again, that's really relatively newer. Reason is we just didn't have a quantum computer to think about algorithms and applications and software, right? And now IBM and many other companies are bringing up some quantum computing systems that people can actually play with. And now people are starting to think about what is the best quantum software structure, architecture, what is algorithms and applications. So we have to jump on that right now in Korea. And we have a lot of talented scientists and students here. So that's actually my thoughts.
Okay. Thank you, great. So I guess it would be the final question. Obviously, global collaboration for sustainable development is critical. And please give us a quick comments on your vision on what role should the universities, even policymakers and international institutions play in advancing quantum technology for sustainable development?
So the government really needs to fund the researchers with a long-term vision. I know sometimes like, oh, we have to get the number, we have to really get the result within next year, 2 years, and a lot of funding structures can be a very short term. And today I learned that sustainability also doesn't, like another meaning. I thought that it was only just an environmental thing, but how we can continue certain technology development for long term without killing all our researchers, right? That's what the government really has to have a long-term vision. And I mean, I think we should have like some short-term goals, but looking at the long terms, giving people enough funding to think about like a future problems, and then also like a short-term problems too, and learn from other governments and other countries how they're advancing, and then build a good plan to fund for 10 years and 20 years of the vision. Again, this is absolutely what U.S. government did, and right now, how many quantum computing companies came from the United States, right? And for international organization, I mean, I would rather say that the international policy is I also understand quantum computing became one of the security, technology, right? And then, of course, we are concerned about particular countries, especially in Korea, the security is a big topic. However, the like-minded countries really have to work together, lower the barrier of the export control, and then let's work together, because we still have to have an international level collaboration is needed. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Hani, for sharing these insightful perspectives. So before I closing the session, I think I have just 1 or 2 minutes to entertain 1 or 2 questions from the floor. Yeah, it's a long day actually, right?
And then it's a really tough quantum computing is probably like, and then English probably doesn't help. Question can be in Korean if you want to speak Korean, but I can answer in Korean too. No?
Okay.
Oh, there's one person.
Thank you for this eye-opening session, fascinating. My name is Anna Torlund from the United Nations Department of Economic and Social Affairs, UNPOG. I have one question related this session to the SDG 16, which is on peace, justice, and strong institutions, and SDG 17 partnerships. My question is about for government's perspective. What would be your recommendations for them? What kind of strategies they should start doing besides the research that you just mentioned to get prepared for the disruption of the quantum technology coming up? And second one is what kind of capacities, institutional capacities that governments has to start thinking about for the long-term impact of the quantum technology? Thank you.
I mean, if you're thinking about, so today, the whole day, we are talking about how the AI, impact of AI, right? Like about the job securities and, AI can also give you bias and can make some impact in the societal operations. And then the question is whether quantum computer will have such a similar impact in society. I think that's a question. And I mean, personally, or even I think institutionally at IBM, we don't really think that this social responsibility of the quantum is not different than social responsibility that we have to do for AI, right? And then quantum computing methods or a quantum computational tool can be still quite, for a while, it may not be like how you are using AI every day on your phone or like a ChatGPT. Quantum computer may not be that kind of tool. That can be very specific for some scientific discoveries, or in a hospital for some deeper medical research, or some industry like banks that they are kind of using it for like some finance problems, right? But not the one that everyone is using every day. So I feel that if you're well prepared for AI, I feel like personally I feel a little bit more concerned about the impact of AI that's coming soon. And we could think about also what is the quantum can be different or the same. And while we can think about the problem while we are also being well prepared for the AI's impact for society.
Yeah, I think there is no definitely sure answer, but I think we can continue the Q&A after this session. So thank you for that great question. So with that, I would like to conclude this last session. But before that, I would like to give you a homework. Let me leave you with the one final last thought. So quantum computing is not just about the building of faster computer, as we discussed since far, and it's about expanding the boundaries of human knowledge and creating new tools to solve some of humanity's the biggest and most difficult challenges, like climate change, energy crisis, the pandemic, and the healthcare issues. Affordable and sustainable healthcare. So, but technology alone do not change the world. People do. So to translate this capability into the meaningful benefit of humanity, it is imperative to build multi-entity, multilateral global cooperation. So the future of quantum science, I think, will depend on how we collaborate across disciplines, across institutions, and across nations. Partnerships among universities, industry, governments, and international organizations will be essential. If we work together with a shared responsibility and global solidarity, quantum technology can help us build a healthier, more sustainable future for all. And I think that future begins with the actions we take today. So thank you very much for coming to this session, and have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Chung and Director Peck, for the very inspiring session. Actually, my office is located in Songdo, the international campus. So I'm right next to the quantum computer, so this session was especially very interesting for me. Thank you once again for a wonderful session. So as we conclude today's sessions, as Professor Chung just mentioned, it looks like we have some homework. And one thing is clear, we're at a turning point, whether it's climate action, gender equality, or technological innovation, every one of us has a role in shaping the future.
Let's carry today's insights beyond this forum and take concrete action in our own spheres.
Thank you for your engagement today, and we look forward to seeing you tomorrow once again for another day of impactful discussions. Thank you very much.